double coverage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to
go for it.
You told me at the top of the show.
Intro. Yeah, but I was going to do the intro.
Mate, you've cocked it up. Yeah, well,
that's all right.
Look,
Go, Sauce. It's all you,
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
we're
I'm
here
out.
Sunday night live. We're here to talk about the World Game. We've got Daniel, aka Azuro_cards on Instagram, back, a familiar face to the channel. Once running the Soccer Card Collective. So definitely good to have his input. And Doma, of course, the sidekick over there. Dan, how are you, mate? Good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's been a long time. Happy to be back talking the World Games. Pretty keen to get onto it again. So I thought I'd hit you boys up and say let's do something. Let's get onto it.
Awesome, Doma.
It's always good to see the familiar face. Yes, it's good to have Dan back. Obviously, if you're seeing his face for the first time, he was a big part of Double Coverage and obviously the crossover into Coverage.Media. He ran the Soccer Card Collective with Vincent and Lukey. Very successful pod. He also ran Azuro's Euro. He was on every single night. That was insane during the lockdown. That was fantastic. Had heaps of guests on from overseas and really good coverage and did a great job of that. And as he did mention, you got the itch back, want to speak some World Game, and it's going to be strictly World Game. Yeah, there might be some trading card talk here, but it's predominantly world football news, what's happening around the grounds, our takes, me saying that Ronaldo is still the best, and Azuro telling me that I've lost the plot. So that's pretty much what it's going to be. But as Saucy said, I'm the sidekick. He's running the show, and I'll sit here, shut up, and let him get on with it.
All right. I like the sound of that. It's not often that you keep your mouth shut. So, I mean, look,
listen,
we don't
Arsenal's
want that
on top, mate. So,
I've got to be up and about, and I have been. Hey, look, good start early. We'll get to the Premier League in a bit, but good start early by my boys, but we've got to keep it going, keep it rolling. We will start. I might as well bring this up. We'll start with, look, the Farmers League, even though, we've got to talk about it because, Neymar and Messi and Mbappe are there. You've got PSG, they're clearly leading the league. You've got Laurent, who's equal on points on 26. PSG obviously haven't lost a game, 10 matches played. You got Lens on 24, Marseille on 23, Monaco on 20. So good to see Monaco back up there, challenging. Obviously, have been pretty average in previous seasons. Look, I don't know if you guys want to have a chat about. I mean, we probably should have a chat about PSG. The question that I'll pose in this, because don't worry about Ligue 1. They're winning this. It doesn't really matter. They win it every year. They're going to end up winning it by 10 plus points, maybe 15. Is PSG going to do anything in the Champions League this season? That's the question, because let's be honest, that's where they're going to get judged as a football club. Ligue 1, not them. Winning Ligue 1 isn't seen as much of a feat. I mean, if they lost Ligue 1, it would be worse than if they actually won it. That's, I don't know if you have that viewpoint, but I think their fans have that viewpoint. What are your thoughts? PSG, are they going to do anything in Champions League?
I mean, they should. They've spent the money for a team that should get them there. Whether they will or not, I'm not 100% sure. I definitely wouldn't put a significant amount of money on it. And that's mainly due to these characters being able to work together when it comes to the pointy end of this competition. I really don't think that there's cohesiveness at all in that team. I definitely think that they're beatable. And when you compare that to a Manchester City and the way that they're playing football at the moment, I don't see them winning it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do pull it all together, but I'm definitely not putting money on PSG winning the Champions League.
Mbappe could be gone in January. But in January, apparently, that's what the reports are. So I don't know. I just think that they'll fail. the one thing that has always stuck in my mind about that football side when they were buying every single player, and we sat there and thought about it, and everyone was going, "Oh, they're going to win Champions League, and it's all wrapped up, it's sewn up." And obviously, we had a discussion, and Dan said, obviously, I remember it, but not as vividly as what Dan did. And Dan goes, well, Galacticos got together and they didn't do squat. Like, just because you buy everyone, the Galacticos, if you don't know who that is, definitely put that in the Google search engine and hit enter. So it's one of the greatest football sides ever compelled. And that was Real Madrid. But they didn't do anything. So, and not for anything, PSG's trended towards that. They had the best young talent in the world. He's now maturing. I'm not going to say he's the young prospect as what he was. He's come out. He said he's coming out party. He's dominated. They've got arguably the best player in the world on their team in Messi. And then they've got another top 5, top 10 player in the world in Neymar. Then they got Hakimi and Sergio Ramos and Verratti. They got all these players. And yeah, I just don't think so, and I'm with you, Dan. Man City's just playing too great a football at the moment. They're the team. So,
I mean, I can see them pulling it together. And Verratti is probably one of the most underrated players in world football at the moment. Like, to be honest, out of I've watched a few of the Champions League games, considering that they're on the same group as Juventus. So I'm naturally watching PSG, but they've got Neymar, Mbappe, Messi. Verratti's been the best player in that team over the last few matches that I've watched. It's absolutely incredible. So I can actually see them pulling something together just, based on, they've got Ramos, Marquinhos, and Donnarumma's been pulling it out of his ass every now and then. But I don't know. I don't feel like they work together all that well.
The bookies definitely have them, outsiders. I mean, they got them at $8. Bayern Munich $6, and I think the bookies have seen the same great football from Manchester City as you blokes, because they've got them as $2.87 favourites to take out the Champions League. So
it's accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate, and I think on that assessment, I think I'm going to throw this out there as a value who they cannot be counted out. They cannot be counted out, and that's one team I'm going to be looking at. And $13 odds. I'll tell you what, I might have a cheeky play on this $13, and this is gamble responsibly, ladies and gentlemen. But Real Madrid, $13. Why can't they win the Champions League? Why can't they go back to back? Their team is improving. I've watched a lot of Real Madrid games. The younger players are getting better. Rodrigo's getting better. Vinny Jr. is getting better. Benzema hasn't even started rolling this season. Had a few injuries, been in and out of the game, in and out of the team. So I think it's going to be an interesting run into the Champions League. That's a bit of a forefront on that. But we will move on out of Ligue 1 and talking about PSG. We do hope that Mbappe doesn't leave in January. And stays there and sticks it out, but surely no one steps up to the plate and goes 330 million and breaks his. I think it's 330 that they have to pay to get him out.
330, and he owns the club, so
surely that
give up a club and a contract.
He's unbelievable. That doesn't transfer over. All right, ladies and gentlemen, enough of that. We're going to bring up the next league. We're going to go down the leagues. We're going to talk about the German Bundesliga. It's an interesting one. And I'll bring up the ladder because, I hope that we see more of this going deeper into the season. We don't obviously have Bayern running over the top. We got Union Berlin on top on 20 points. Freiburg, my team, I'm announcing that I go for Freiburg only because I like Vincenzo Grifo, right? Hoffenheim, third, 17 points. Frankfurt, fourth on 17. Bayern Munchen on 16. Borussia Mönchengladbach on 16 in sixth, and Dortmund on 16 in seventh. That's the running on the top 7 there. I'm not sure if anyone's caught any games in the Bundesliga. I watch them occasionally, when I find them on KO. People don't like watching Bundesliga, but there's one thing I like about it. There's goals in it. I think maybe that's because they're not adverse at defending, and that's probably why you're getting that. But it's an interesting start to the season. Obviously, Bayern not coming out and dominating. They're finding their feet. They have only had one loss, so and they're not out of it. You probably will see them, come make a run for it. But they are the team to talk about. Bayern Munich. They're going pretty well in the Champions League. I think they've dominated their group, and Sadio Mane seems to be fitting in there nicely. Any thoughts on the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, what you've seen thus far this season?
Haven't really watched all that much of the Bundesliga. I must admit, it's not a league that I'm particularly interested in at all. So I'll pass on to Tom.
No, the Bundesliga, I catch games here and there, as Saucy said, when they're up on KO. But is there an argument to be made that we should be calling take away this year's standings, because this year is an anomaly for the Bundesliga, the way that the standings are looking, with your boy Griffo in second and then Union Berlin on top. But is there an argument to be made that the actual Farmers League is actually the Bundesliga and not Ligue 1? Because there's better teams in Ligue 1 than there are in...
I think they're strong contenders. They're definitely strong contenders. You know what? I think the Bundesliga is the pretender league. It's kind of they make you feel like they're really, really good teams, but not necessarily. And the team I would probably say is Borussia Dortmund. In all honesty, I think that team is shithouse. And when it comes to cards, their players get looked at for whatever reason. Maybe because it was Haaland and there's Bellingham there, I guess. But the team
Giovanni Reina.
What about Giovanni Reina? Giovanni Reina is no good.
You like him, don't you?
He's American, but he's no good, right? Mukoko is not that good. So I think they have these flashy names that come up every now and then. But mate, you put those players in other leagues. And obviously, we're going to be talking about Haaland. That's a completely different beast over there. He's made a whole other league turn into a farmers league potentially. But I don't really rate the Bundesliga or La Liga all that much. Honestly.
Yeah.
Or La Liga, sorry, Ligue 1, obviously.
Ligue 1. I just think like Ligue 1, you have a look at their sides there. You got PSG, you got Marseille, you got Lyon, you got Nice, you got Lille. Who else am I missing out on there? Someone else in there. A couple others that are pretty good, and they're always up there fighting for it. And they're pretty strong sides where I know we look at the table just now, and I've brought up this argument where Bayern Munich's in 5th and Dortmund's in 6th, and it might sound like I'm nuts, but like Dan said, I think that's just being pretenders. It's usually Bayern Munich and then Dortmund, and then the reason why it is a Farmers League is because Dortmund builds up all the young kids to then give them to Bayern Munich anyway, so they're always good. So that's genuinely a league where it's just one team all the time, have all the players. Like I understand PSG bought the players. They didn't go and just take everyone from all the other teams in their league. They're pretty much just farming grounds to make the industrial revolution of Bayern Munich succeed year in, year out. That's pretty much the way I look at it. So I'm giving Ligue 1 a pass. I can't believe I'm siding with Ligue 1 fans here right now. And I genuinely think the Bundesliga is the Farmers League on planet Earth.
Wow.
Out of all the top 5 leagues, as we talk about, they are the worst league.
Well, I mean, I take Liverpool's 11th, but I probably won't use them as an example. Everton, right? Who's 14th on the league at the moment. Do you think that they would get really scared if they got drawn Union Berlin in a cup competition? Do you reckon that they'd be scared to walk out on the pitch? They're top of the league at the moment with 20 points, Union Berlin. I feel like that kind of says it all.
Definitely.
Yep. I think that's we've given our thoughts on the Bundesliga. We're not going to talk on it anymore.
Sorry, Bundesliga fans.
Yeah, look, sorry, it's obviously Bayern Munich. I do see Bayern Munich coming home strong and finishing strong. They are second favourites in the Champions League. They do look good this season. I have watched some games, obviously more of their Champions League games, but have caught one or two Bundesliga games, they still look very, very strong. And I think as they piece it together with a bit more chemistry with obviously the new guys they've brought in, still plenty of games to go, like 20 plus games in the season. So I think they'll come home strong and end up taking that out. All right, we will move on. All right, we'll leave them till last. We will move on to La Liga, the Spanish Premier League. If you don't know, on top, we'll get the standings up and bring it up. We've got Barcelona on top with 22 points. Real Madrid second on 22 points. Atletico Madrid third on 19 points. That's the three familiar faces we usually see most seasons. Atletico Bilbao 17 points in fourth. Real Betis 16 points in fifth. Real Sociedad 16 points in sixth. And Valencia in seventh on 14 points. And then if you want to know where any other teams are, you can check that out. Our Mobiles Cardiff is 6 points, 19th in relegation. Not doing very good. Anyone doesn't know who Awa Mobile is, Australian national team player. That's the only reason I've mentioned him. But we won't pump him up like he's an absolute freak and pump up his cards, because he's not. He's probably at the same level as, I don't know, maybe
Ricardo
Giovanni
Pepe.
Reina or a Pepe, or who knows, man. But we're not going to pump up his cards that they can go that high. All right. We'll just mention him, honorable mention. All right. La Liga, two familiar faces up top, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Barcelona has struggled in the Champions League. Lewandowski has copped a lot of flack. I'm not sure if you caught the memes. Lewandowski, where is he in big games? Goes missing. Copped a bit of flack over, obviously, his Champions League performance against Inter Milan. And then, the second game, they drew 3-3. They are looking like they aren't going to qualify from that group. Inter Milan are in the box seat to qualify out of that group. We're talking Champions League, but in La Liga, they're looking very strong. Xavi has got them playing a very nice brand of football. You've got, the youngsters in midfield coming up with Sergio Busquets, the old head, guiding them. Pedri and Gavi, we know who they are. They're obviously very, very renowned and loved in the hobby, maybe a little bit too loved, but I mean, they're going to get there. Real Madrid, chugging along. Benzema has literally been out most of the season, injured, hasn't played, and they're still, banging in goals. The other guys have stepped up. Vinny Jr., Rodrigo has stepped up. I'm trying to think who's the other guy who plays that runs from the left back. What's his name? Vasquez? No, not Vasquez. Valverde, right? He's looking like an absolute baller. Then you got Atletico Madrid on a close behind on 19th, who cannot be counted out if we're talking La Liga. All right, gents, who do you think is going to win La Liga at this point? I mean, we're 9 games into the season. It's very close at the top. Who are we leaning? Barcelona or Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid? Because let's be honest. I'm only going to read the rest of their names. Like I read out to 7th, but they're the only 3 teams that can win the league.
I think Real Madrid will win. They're an extremely strong side. They've brought in some really, really good talent as well. They keep on adding these little pieces, and they're growing. I can see this team in the next couple of years being an absolute powerhouse. Much similar to the way that you see Man City, probably not at that kind of level on a regular basis yet, but I can see that really happening. I think Real Madrid wins it, but Barcelona at the moment, they're really strong competitors. They're always going to have a massive hit out tomorrow morning. We'll try to stay up for it. I'll try to stay up for it tonight. But Barca should just not worry about the Champions League, in all honesty. Like, if it wasn't for the money, I would just can it and just focus on the league. As long as they're improving year on year, that's all they should be caring about. And they shouldn't necessarily worry about it too much, because if they do, then they'll make stupid decisions like changing the coach, and I think that the coach has put him in the right direction.
I'm going to go Madrid because that's who I follow in La Liga. That's my side, always has been. So the good thing is, looking up week to week, whether it's Champions League or La Liga fixtures, it's great to see Vinny Jr. on the score sheet. Pretty much every game, it just say Vinny Jr. scored in this minute, and it's actually refreshing to see a young young prospect actually trying to, on his journey to becoming a superstar. And not for anything, we will talk about just a little bit later when it comes to like the World Cup. This is like, that'll be his stage to really to shine and show what he really is made of. That's where champions are made, pretty much. Legends and myths. So Vinny's doing great things. Like you said, Rodrigo's improved a fair bit. Saucer, you've watched a lot more Real Madrid games than what I have. And I'm interested to know how Antonio Rudiger has fit into this Madrid side at centre back, because he was great in the Prem.
Yeah, very good, very good. It gives them, a solid, obviously something that even though he's an amazing defender, Sergio Ramos moved on and had lost, which is that pace, and he's able to cover those balls in behind very well. He's definitely got a quick turn of pace, and he's good on the ball, and he can hit him from distance. So he's got that in the locker as well. So Rudiger's fitting like an absolute gem. Real Madrid's humming along. I think, to mention that point, what Dan said about, Barcelona improving and, just getting better. I think, I looked up, I just wanted to, I just chucked in Google, Barcelona's average squad age, 25.33 years. It's the youngest squad average age that they've had in the last decade. So it just goes to show they are bringing up new talent. They're looking to, play younger kids, and we're seeing that that their academy is producing some amazing talent, and it has before, and I think that's the people underestimate that when these clubs like Real Madrid, when these clubs like Barcelona and so on, reset, they've put the stepping stones into their academies and their youth products that when they do come through, they're actually quality. They've got some of the best scouts and all over the world, and they bring through quality players, especially Barcelona. They are renowned for it. So, I mean, they're going to keep improving. Can they win the league? Sure, maybe they can. I think, I am going to lean Real Madrid. I think also if Atletico Madrid do get knocked out and they stay within, touching distance, they've got a chance to win the league. Probably lean away from Barcelona. I think maybe there could be a point where the younger guys in the side have a bit of a lull patch and sort of struggle. And they're the struggles that you find as a young player, and being able to then get your form back. Things that, as you're more experienced and have more games under the belt, you sort of understand and a bit more self-awareness and understand how to get your game back quicker, maybe not be off for 2 or 3 matches in a row, but get that back the next game and keep chugging along. So I think they might have a little bit of issues, but nonetheless, as I said, I do like Real Madrid in the Champions League at $13. I'm going to put that one out there again. I think they're a sneaky play. And if you don't, I mean, they're good at going deep in. So I'll just say this, ladies and gentlemen, you can always, back them at $13 and then lay them a bit later on your Betfair account if you know what the hell that is. And either way, whether they win or lose, you're going to make money. All right. So if you don't know what that is, do your research. It's
love a good lay betting strategy.
Yeah. Lay betting strategy. That way, cover your ass. Either way, you make money. Happy days. You buy yourself or your missus a nice dinner out on the town. So it's happy days. La Liga, it's firming up to be big. I'm not exactly sure if there's anything else to talk about in regards to that league, but we will move on. We will move on to Azzurro's favorite league, the Serie A.
Here we go.
The Italian number 1 league in Italy, Serie A. And
he's ready to tell us how hard done by Juventus is.
Mate, this is an amazing ladder to look at.
You won't get defense for me, but the league this year is an absolute cracker of a year.
Atalanta on top with 24 points. Napoli second with 23 points. They do have a game in hand, Napoli, so I'm guessing they're playing this evening. So they'll probably take that top spot back. You got Lazio in third, 20 points. Udinese in fourth, 20 points. AC Milan, 20 points in fifth. AS Roma, 19 points in sixth. Juventus Dan's side in 16th, and Inter Milan in 8th, 15 points. And then next closest is Sassuolo in 9th on 22 points. Dan, give us the rundown. Atalanta, Napoli. Look, I like to see Napoli up there because that's sort of my team that I lean towards. I am from Naples. So, if I'm going to go for a team in that league, it is Napoli. They haven't won it in a long time. I think they haven't won it since Maradona has been there. So they've been waiting a long, long time between drinks. So I hope that they can pull it through this year. They are looking dangerous. They did have Osimhen out for a number of games and were able to hold the fort while they got Osimhen back. He's back now, so hopefully they can have a good run into the break and maybe get a little sneaky lead up there. But what's your thoughts thus far, Serie A, the season that's gone 10 games in?
All right, where do we start? We'll start with Napoli, okay, because you obviously mentioned them. And let's talk through their last few games, right? 2-1 against Lazio, against who I think is probably one of the best midfielders in the world, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. 4-1 against Liverpool, 1-0 Spezia, 3-0 Rangers, 2-1 Milan, 3-1 over Torino, 6-1 over Ajax, 4-1 over Cremonese, and 4-2 over Ajax again, right? This team is phenomenal to watch. Absolutely phenomenal to watch. They picked up Raspadori, and they picked up this guy who I struggle every time I try to say his name.
I know who you're going to say. It's the Georgian. The Georgian, yeah. The Georgian maestro, I call him, mate. The Georgian maestro.
He is a maestro, absolutely. Every single time I look up their stats, he's on the score sheet, right?
He's a gun.
Fuck, I can't. It's Kvara.
Yeah, I'm going to have a crack here. I'm going to have a crack. I'll bring it up so you can have a crack too, Doma. Here it is.
I'll have the crack. I'm
going to click on him here.
I know exactly. This is the guy that they were talking about. He's like, he's like Maradona.
Kvaratskhelia.
No, that's what they were saying. They were saying like they were just talking about that type. Not saying he was.
Talking about.
Kvaratskhelia.
Either way, right? There you go.
Where's Vincent?
His nickname's Kvara. You just call him Kvara, I guess.
Yeah, we'll call him Kvara. There you
go. But this team is playing so good. They got rid of the Chelsea defender now. What's his name?
Koulibaly.
They brought in Kim, who's been actually so good as a centre back. Di Lorenzo on the right. The way that this team is playing is tiki-taka-esque, in all honesty. They are so exciting to watch, and to watch it in Serie A is just like amazing. And seeing them like smash teams in the Champions League as well, right? Like Serie A,
some convincing wins there, and it's
comprehensive against Liverpool too. Like I know they're not doing unbelievable at the moment, but mate, they still spank them. So really, really good. But not only that, right? You've got Udinese up there as well, battling it out. Milan's probably maybe the best team at the moment, behind Napoli, I would say. Roma's a really, really strong team under Mourinho. Unfortunately, Dybala's out. Juve, not really much I can really say that's fantastic with them at the moment, but they're still a solid team with a lot of good players still to come back. And Inter's a very strong team. They're probably my pick to almost win the thing. So you probably look at the top 8 teams all have capability to win this league. It's such an exciting time to be a Serie A fan at the moment. And all things aside, maybe quality is obviously better potentially at the Premier League level. But in terms of exciting league to watch, I'll put this above any league at the moment.
So in saying that, what's the case with Atalanta then being on top with all the analysis we've given so far? Like,
so Atalanta's they've played an extra game, so that's got a lot to do with it. So they probably are a little bit further down. But Atalanta have always been a really good team. Their coach is great, and they always seem to lose players every year. I think they lost Gosens last year, but they've been able to pick up, Lookman, who seems to be scoring every week. Actually, it was funny with Lookman. he does his things. I guess it's a lookman. That's why he does like this as his celebration. And he did that last week, and the referee thought that he was taking the piss out of him or something, and gave him a card. It was actually pretty funny. But like Lucas Muriel is a really good player. Demiral's playing consistently as well in defence. So they're a team that really gets amongst them.
Yeah, and they've got Malinovsky in midfield, who's an absolute maestro. So, I mean, they always give teams trouble. They do. There is going to be a part. I think the issue with Atalanta is if they do get injuries to some of their key guys, they don't 100%. have the depth coming off the bench to then be able to hold on and get results in that time where you've got those injuries. And it's always been the issue with them. They do play a beautiful brand of football, especially when they have their first team on the park. I mean, I think they could beat anyone in Serie A coming up against them, when they have their first team. And they were in Champions League, I think, last season, and they gave some teams some really, really tough runs. So, they're not a side to be scoffed at for sure.
Forgetting Brandon Soppy, who's playing with them at the moment, one of the collected cards for the last few years.
No, there we go.
He's doing okay.
Another one. Okay. You got obviously AC Milan. I don't think, I think they could be. I thought Zlatan was still playing with them, but obviously not. I know he's not on their squad.
He is. He's just been injured for a long time.
He's been injured, right? Yeah, but he's on the books. Okay, I think they probably could do with him as a little impact off the bench. I don't know. Giroud, is he at 36 the man that's going to lead you to the title of your starting center forward? I don't know. He is getting on in age.
They got Leal, mate.
They got all about Leal.
Like, I know they got gun. They got a lot of injuries too. Yeah, I'm just having a look at their squad. So that defenders, they got Calabria is injured, Florenzi is injured, Simon Kaya is injured. Then in midfield, they've obviously Charles de Ketelaere is injured, who they signed in the summer. Alexis Salamancas is injured as well. So there's some big outs there, key players that will be pivotal to that side. So as Dan said, he thought that
every game before he got injured as well. So
that's exactly right. And as Dan said, he thought he thought Inter could win it, but he said Milan is the second best team behind Napoli that he's seen play. So when they get that talent back in, it makes a massive, massive difference. So that's my team. AC
Milan really well.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Has been playing well. Leal's been absolutely just blistering. He could legit at the moment walk on any team on the planet and start. Honestly, the way that he's going at the moment. And Theo Hernandez on the left as well is one of the best left backs in the world. I think they're a really good team, and they've got Mangan. He didn't play last week, but the keeper there is killing it.
Bigger clubs come knocking, you think, at some point for Leal?
It's going to be very hard to keep him.
I mean, come on, man. If a Real Madrid comes knocking and wants you to come over to there, Real Madrid, I don't know, Barcelona or a Chelsea, for instance. I mean,
I can see him going to a Barcelona potentially. I don't know if they can afford him because that would cost a lot. That would cost a lot.
Yeah.
That could almost be $100 million transfer, that one. Especially at this World Cup, a lot of people will be watching him for sure.
I mean, that Portuguese side, it looks really good, doesn't it? Looks really good. Some good talent.
They won't win. They're still not going to win, mate. Unfortunately, they won't.
Ronaldo, his last one. You don't think he'll kind of?
He'll play again. He'll play in America, Dan, in 26.
You reckon?
Is it in Americans? Yeah, he will. That's just what he does.
Stick out in the field.
Dan, he's going to keep playing till Messi retires first, so then he can play a couple more years, get a couple more goals, stat pad. So that's the way he does it,
Messi said that this is his last World Cup. That's what he said, right?
Man, it is written in the scripture of
Messi bloody retired from world football.
Because he could never win anything internationally because he played in the weakest tournament ever, which is Copa America, and then he won one. So now he's definitely 100 times better than Ronaldo. Anyway, besides the point, we've already got onto that shit talk.
Don't get him started.
Yeah, we're talking about Rafael Leao here, who is probably the centerpiece with Cancelo and a few other players. They are, honestly, they're the key players when it comes to the World Cup for this Portuguese side. Like you said, it's not, Ronaldo isn't the focal point. We'll talk about Leao and some of that stuff, prospects and stuff when we get to a bit of World Cup talk.
Yeah, we'll roll along. We're going to leave it on this. I'm going to get you quick. We're 10 games in. Who do you think's winning the league? Serie A. I'm going to go with Napoli, and that's just because they're playing amazing. We did go through their results, and I like them, so I want them to win.
I would love to see Napoli win. I think it might be Milan in the end, but I'm going to say Napoli just because Milan beat Juve 2-0 last week and they pissed me off. So I'm going to go Napoli.
I'm going to go AC Milan because that's my team. So that's me.
And one more question before we move on. Is Allegri going to be the coach that's going to get you back to winning the Scudetto?
Well, he's done it.
I'll say this: it's incredibly frustrating to watch a player like Dusan Vlahovic, who was at Fiorentina, literally scoring goals for a laugh, and then he comes to Juventus, which you would arguably think is a better quality side, has better talent. He should be able to be banging goals, but I think it's just the game style doesn't allow him to play his best abilities and allow him to bang in goals at the rate he was in Fiorentina. So that's the perspective. I think maybe the game style. I don't know. What's your perspective on that?
It's one of those hard things because look, we had Conte and. His biggest issue was us being able to progress further in the Champions League. And then we had Allegri, who plays his style, which is a little bit different than Conte, obviously a little bit more defensive, a little bit more negative football. However, got us to 2 finals. So his style does get the results. And when you've got a team in this position, you kind of lean on experienced coaches and you say, all right, well, over the long term, if we stick with him, potentially it'll come back. But the way that we're playing football at the moment is just, I know we've had outs, we've got Pogba out, Di Maria's off every 2 seconds. So there's lack of cohesiveness. But in terms of getting the ball to Vlahovic, it's been pretty poor. He has 7 touches a game on average lately. And it's pretty sad to see him like that. I would like to see, another coach come in, maybe like a Zidane or something like that. That'd be good to shake things up. But I don't think you get rid of him this part of the season, and I don't think you can because he's going to cost so much to get rid of. But hopefully we do make a change because we definitely need one. But I think it runs a lot deeper than simply Allegri. I think that a lot of the decisions that have been made in the past coming back to bite them, the amount that we've paid Rabiot, the amount that we've paid Ramsey, we're just struggling to get these guys off our books, Sandro, Danilo, and we need to revamp the whole side. So it's going to take a little while, but I mean, we had many, many years to the top. I can't really complain too much either.
It's a good way to look at it. Anthony, how are you, mate? Good evening. Yeah, this pod is right up your alley, mate. We're talking the world game, football, round ball, all about it. We've just knocked off Serie A. We will move on to the mighty English Premier League, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll bring up the standings, of course. We've got the mighty Arsenal FC on top with 24 points, if you don't mind. Got to get up and about. It might be, it might not be too long. We might be second. Manchester City, the juggernaut, on 23 points in second. Tottenham Spurs FC in 23 points in third. Chelsea, 16 points in fourth. And Manchester United, 15 points in fifth. Newcastle United, honourable mention, sixth with 14 points. And then, obviously, we've got to mention Liverpool with 10 points, sitting in 11th, absolutely struggling. And one which I didn't expect to be down in the relegation zone is Leicester City with Brendan Rodgers, good coach, pretty decent side, struggling with 5 points, sitting in relegation. Looks like they're going to have a tough season and be in a relegation battle. Gents, look, first and foremost, I'm just going to say, I couldn't be happy with the start of the season for Arsenal. Of course, the changes that we made in the offseason, bringing in some talent, some depth, so that we, if we do have injuries, we've got actually guys come off the bench. Gabriel Jesus has been amazing. Martinelli has gone from strength to strength. Also, Saka has gone from strength to strength, and Odegaard is getting better with every game, in absolutely leading from the front. Love his effort. What have you seen thus far? Are you surprised by the turnaround by my football club, Arsenal? Obviously, Arteta last season, start of the year, people wanted him gone. Me, I didn't say I wanted him gone. I just didn't know where his game plan was. It's all come together. I'm happy that the club didn't fold to the fans and did stick with him, because we have seen, flipping coaches. It doesn't really get you anywhere. Dom can attest to that. Even though sometimes flipping coaches too quick might be bad, but you do need at least give him, I think, 2 full seasons under their belt at least, and Arsenal did that, and he was able to bring some guys in, and once he was able to bring a few more pieces in and get rid of some of the guys which he was stuck playing because previous coach Unai Emery had brought them in, and so he had to wait his time before he can move them out. What have you seen, gents?
Sorry about my camera as well. It's gone fuzzy, but it's probably an improvement in honesty. Arsenal, look, you're top. It's as much as we talk about Man City and Haaland knocking them in, you guys are top. Like, it is what it is at the moment. And you guys have got really, really good players. You've got a good coach from what it seems like. It's great that you stuck with him, because I feel like when you take these rash decisions based on short-term performance, over long-term you do suffer, and you guys have a very, very young team, so you really need to stick with it and let these guys grow with the team. But how good has Jesus been as an introduction to that team? Just absolutely been phenomenal. So, mate, kudos to you guys. I really, really hope you do well this season. I hope you win it, mate. I'm going to be supporting you guys. I've never had a team in England, but I think this season I'm going to be supporting Arsenal. That's what I'm going to come out and say.
Very nice. I've said it many a time. Arsenal's been so good to start this season. Saka's just gone to another level again. Martinelli has just continued from last year, and then Jesus. I know he talked a big game when he was at City, and people said, "Oh, because he said, well, when you give me time, I can show you what I've got." And people said, "Oh, he wasn't really showing it too much at City, but he was playing limited time. He was coming on for 10 minutes or starting every third, fourth game, and he wasn't getting any continuity." And he's backed it up, and you get personally respect built for that player. For he believed in his ability, and he's been able to back it up out on the pitch and back it up to such a high level that I'm not going to say he's carrying Arsenal, but he's been a very, very vital piece of the puzzle. And it was a great signing. Probably next to Haaland, probably the best signing in the Premier League going into this season by a mile. So well done to you, Sauce. Who knows what this league is? A crazy league. I know we've joked about saying City, you're keeping it warm for City, but it is a crazy league. Anything can happen. One injury can change a league, or a couple injuries. The World Cup could work in favor for a lot of teams in a lot of leagues, because it's happening in the middle of the season. Injuries happen at international tournaments, and they could really, really hurt Champions League results and league results. So people need to keep that in mind as well. So Arsenal aren't counted out just yet. But Well done, Sauce. You should be very, very proud and very happy. And I'm very happy to say that my team's giving your team the only loss. So
yeah. I mean, that's our only blemish, but it was good to see. As obviously we came back after that and bounced back good against Liverpool. So that was good to see. And I think we got City in a few weeks, so we'll see where we match up with them, and we will move on to them. Obviously, the juggernaut that is Manchester City. They are favourites to win the Champions League, as we mentioned before. $2.87. The bookies have got them at. Firm favourites, the next closest being $6, which is Bayern Munich. I think they are also favourites to win the league here. The bookies are still favouring it, and as they should, because Pep Guardiola, that side they've improved on their squad from last season. Let's not bullshit anyone. Them bringing in Haaland has been the signing of the summer for any team across all of football. He's been. We did say, Dom, when he came to the league, he was going to bang in 30 goals. Easy. And, we had a few people, it's the Premier League. It's not Bundesliga. All right, yeah, it's the Premier League. But, I mean, what? You're disregarding all the other guys that he has around him that have been playing Premier League for the last 5 years. They know how to play Premier League. And when you're a finisher and just need to get on the end of the ball, and I mean, his finishing's not like he's a shit finisher. He's an amazing finisher he gets the service and he puts the ball in the back of the net. And that's what you need to do as that sort of striker. And he's got amazing pace to get in behind. I think he's slowly building up his back to the goal game, being able to present, get the ball, move it off, do that well. I've seen him chime in with a few assists. The man, Haaland, the second coming of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, as we like to mention on this show. Signing of the summer, clearly.
Dan, you're all over this too, man. So I'm going to give you credit where credit's due. So you can definitely rattle it off here. So,
second coming of Zlatan. I mean, Zlatan went to Juventus right after he was at Ajax. And I really remember that time. And Haaland's just another level compared to that. Like, this guy is just fucking out of control, right? Out of absolute control. But in saying that, clearly the signing of the summer. But in saying that, these defenders in the Premier League, right? And I'm coming from a very Italian bias here. But what he does off the ball, he is always moving, right? Like, he is just like taking one step back, forward, and consistently these defenders lose him, right? Absolutely lose him. And then he pops up in the right place at the right time every time, right? And it's based on the fact that he just loses his man off the ball every single time. And just like, it just seems so common sense to just stick a man on him everywhere he goes. That is where you go. We play too much zonal defending at the moment, and in the Premier League does this to an absolute fault, right? Just stick a man on him when you're in that end of the field, and he will not score as many goals as he's scoring now. Will you be able to stop him? That will limit him, but mate, he's absolutely phenomenal, and I struggle to see any player being a better signing over the summer. And he will be one of the most incredible players in the world. And as much as I don't like him from a personal point of view, I can't really knock his stats. Can't knock his stats at all.
Yeah, he's it's a pleasure, honestly. I think that's probably the word that should be used. Like, us being the ages that we are, we've been very fortunate to see players like this. And just to put it into context for kids out there, like, this is a pleasure for yourselves to watch, barring injury, up and coming future legend of world football. So that, like, I would just sit there, glue myself to the TV, whether you hate this guy or love this guy, you just got to appreciate it, because you may not see someone built like that. Like, you're probably not going to see a Viking come into a league built like a brick shithouse and just absolutely tear it apart like what he's doing. He did it in Germany, and like you said, people doubted him, and he's come into this side. And I completely understand that his surrounding players, the core unit, what he's been like. He's been given just the service of a lifetime with guys like Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne and Foden and Gundogan, and man, that the midfield is just out of control. And then obviously, as we mentioned at the top of the show, they've got João Cancelo there as well, who is just doing incredible things in that side. Incredible things. He's not just the guy that can defend. He's not just the guy that can play make. His skill on the ball is on another level, and his finishing is also on another level for a fullback. He's one of the most complete fullbacks I've seen in such a long time. He's just phenomenal to watch, as well as all these other players at Manchester City, especially Haaland. It's just
he's
incredible.
on 15 goals. How many goals does he end the season with in the Prem?
What's Shearer's record? What's Shearer's record?
Yeah, I'll have a look.
While everyone's getting tired and burnt out and injured at the World Cup, and he's sitting at home doing nothing, he could potentially walk straight back in after that tournament and just destroy everybody. And win himself a Ballon d'Or potentially.
I've got a question for you after we go through the.
I mentioned this is really good. I can ask you this, Dan. Like right now, on the show last week, I mentioned like for Haaland, his criteria is obviously a lot different to a lot of other players out there in terms of like it's a World Cup year. That probably factors in when it comes to like a Ballon d'Or. And because Haaland's international team isn't very strong, his criteria surely is winning the Premier League, winning a Champions League, and the records that come along with that. If he does win the Premier League and wins the Champions League and breaks these records, does he win the Ballon d'Or? Like that's,
I don't know. Maybe De Bruyne should win the Ballon d'Or. You know?
Yeah, potentially. If he wins the World Cup, for example, with Belgium, then
it's hard to say that because then all of a sudden you've got you're competing against someone in your team, won the same trophies as you, maybe not necessarily banged in the goals, but has set up a majority of them. And has been played Champions League. So that he might struggle there potentially. And maybe they won't give it to him given the fact that he just bloody got to the Premier League, you know. They might just not give it to him out of spite. But the question I wanted to ask you, you mentioned potentially one of the best players in the world he could develop into. Does he do that by staying at Man City, a team with, let's just say, a lack of history when you compare that against Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, right? Like those storied clubs, even if you look at, if you did it by Munich or Milan, by doing it at Manchester City, I know kind of everything has come together at once. You've got Guardiola as coach to do it all. Do you reckon doing it at Man City is a hindrance to him and he has to go to a different club to kind of get that echelon and story behind him, much the way that a lot of the other greats have in the past?
Saucy?
Can't hear you, mate. Sorry, you're on mute.
You're muted, Saucy.
It's a good question. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. First and foremost, if he does beat the 34 goals set by Alan Shearer and Andy Cole as the Premier League goal scoring record, albeit that was in a 42-game season. The Premier League's only 38-game season now. So that's records, which is 32 held by Mohamed Salah in the 17-18 season. So he's got to first beat 32. But if he does beat the 34, which was in another extra 4 games, I mean, that's a good way to start your history books as becoming a great, because it's no mean feat, regardless you're playing in Manchester City, to bang in what could be an amazing breaking record scoring season. I mean, we're 10 games in. There's 38 games. There's 28 games to go. And he's on 15.
He'll kick a hat trick. He's going to kick a hat trick against Liverpool.
That's what I'm saying. He's turned this league into a farmers' league. That's what he's done. He's actually turned the Premier League into a farmers' league.
He's made the Premier League worse than the Bundesliga, and that's pretty bad. So,
seriously,
I just imagine tonight if he does well. They play Liverpool tomorrow morning, our time, 2:30. Imagine he goes into that game and he just tears them apart. Liverpool moves to 16th if they lose to Man City, potentially, after the game tomorrow morning. So does he come in and the so-called greatest centre-back to probably ever play the game based off of one season, can he stop Haaland? He's as big as him. He's apparently as strong as him. That's all I've heard about the Dutch beast. No, Big Verge.
Big Verge, Big Verge.
Yeah. Can he stop him? I genuinely reckon he gives him a bath. He just kills him, to be honest, because I don't reckon Van Dijk's any good. That's my personal opinion. He's the most overrated player.
Very interesting to see.
Got the physicality to do it
tonight to tune in. So obviously,
but to answer Dan's question, 5 years, Madrid, Vinicius, Haaland, forget about it. I think that's where he just rolls in Champions League trophies. I genuinely think he'll go to Real Madrid.
If he does that, he could be genuinely compared to the greatest strikers in the world. And that might be why Mbappe's sitting over there with his paycheck. But mate, if the guy stays in La Liga, I'm not really interested in the Champions League. It's like, is he going to be comparable in the long run?
He's just, I don't know, Haaland, man.
As he gets older,
one of those scary things.
We had this discussion about who's the better talent, Mbappe or Haaland. I'm still leaning Mbappe, but if Mbappe keeps if he doesn't up his game, definitely in the Champions League. I mean, at least get his PSG to win one while he's there. What can he say if he sees out his 4 years or whatever he's got in his contract? What can what's he got to say if all he's winning is French domestic cups?
He needs to get out of La Liga. Sorry, he stays in La Liga.
Ligue 1.
Sorry, I keep on getting those mixed
up.
La
Liga's a good league, mate. La Liga's.
The scariest thing about the Mbappe Haaland, thinking about it like this, Mbappe, you think about his pace, his touch, his finishing, he's pretty accomplished. He's pretty good, yeah. Like, he's improved a lot. He's having a bit of a down period, but it doesn't mean he's no good in those aspects. I look at Haaland, finishing, elite of the elite level. His dribbling's terrible. His passing's average. His playmaking's not that great. Just imagine he fixes all those with his finishing. We potentially could be looking at one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player to ever play the game. He's got so much more upside at the moment. He's the better player of the two at the moment. I think Mbappe overall as a player is better, but Haaland at the moment is the better player based on what he's doing. I don't know. He's just the better player of the two. Like,
if I compared him to Ronaldo,
I know who you're talking about.
Ronaldo. I think Haaland is still light years away. Because
that's fair. I still think he's
Ronaldo with the ball at his fucking feet and his turn of pace was incredible. And I don't. Haaland's got a donkey touch. Let's be honest. And I really don't see that improving to get to anywhere near the level of Ronaldo was back then. So I don't know if he'll be the best ever. But
that's what I'm saying. All those things, those culmination of skills need to all come together. Because, like you said, that donkey touch, he definitely does. He can't dribble. He hasn't got that ability. He's just got the turn and burst of speed. His coverage on the pitch is unbelievable when he takes off. His acceleration is just burns everyone. But Ronaldo and Nazario, R9, Jesus, man. Like, that's the best striker I've ever seen play. And I'll say it on this show, and I'll probably say it this time and this time only. He's the best player I've ever seen play. He's the best player I've ever seen play. The most vivid memory was watching him in 2002 World Cup. I was, however old I was, 9. And we
could be saying that about Haaland one day, Doma. We
could, but I don't think so, because
not at the World Cup with that team. Sorry.
Well, I'm not about the World Cup. I'm saying,
absolutely.
People were saying about Haaland and watching him growing up.
Goes to what Doma said about enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it,
man.
It's incredible to watch.
We're going to move on. Enough of that. We've gone through the leagues. We're going to have a little quick discussion about World Cup, and then we're going to round this up because we've hit the hour mark. I don't like to keep this too much longer, ladies and gents, because people's attention span of people these days, when you got TikTok and the real things where they just swipe.
Technically, we've gone 59 and a half minutes too long.
Very,
we're
very
going
low.
based
Very,
on
very
attention
low.
span. It's 30 seconds or nothing for people these days.
Very low. Yeah. Definitely. All right. The World Cup, FIFA 2022 World Cup in Qatar starts in 35 days, gents. We are going to do a bit more of a preview, leading up, and we'll probably go through the groups and whatnot, give our sort of picks on the groups and things. Probably a bit closer. Maybe we might do that sort of leading in 10 days out from the World Cup, once you sort of know the final squads and who's injured and who's not injured, who's going to be going, and so on. But we will lead up. We did say, who do you think are the players going into this World Cup? Because we're not going to talk about who we think is going to win and whatnot, because we're going to do a bigger thing, as I mentioned before. Who do you think are the players to watch that, coming out that have, I mean, there's some that have already made their name for themselves, but they're going to come to this World Cup, and people are, where the whole world is watching, and where you got, I mean, there are people out there that they only watch Premier League. Or they only watch City A, or they don't really watch the other leagues, and not, or watching other games of other teams, all the time. You might watch the Clasico in La Liga because it's a big game. But other than that, you don't watch any other games really of Real Madrid unless they're playing deep in the Champions League, or, which of the guys that have come to this World Cup, they're going to make a name for themselves. After this World Cup, you're going to have potentially maybe other big teams knocking. If they're already at a big team, they've elevated themselves, to another level. Who's going to be? Who do you think could it be?
Forgot this World Cup existed, right? I've wiped all memory of this.
Well, it definitely won't be any Italian players, because they're the Italian national team, our homeland, us three.
We wiped the floor with England twice, but that's okay.
England's
they got to change that shit. If you win the Euro, you should automatically qualify.
You should go in. Yeah, you should. You should automatically qualify. I think that's a bit of a shit rule. If you win the European,
we lost to England won or we won, it doesn't matter. You should just go straight in. As simple as that.
No, I think that the way that they've got the qualifying is just terrible. The way that it is at the moment. We're going off topic, but it's Italy didn't lose. I think they lost one game in the whole group. They made them finish second, and then it went straight into knockout stage. And you have one bad game, you lose against Macedonia, and all of a sudden you're out. But you can absolutely smash it in the group. It's just the way that they've organised this thing is just
Shouldn't
terrible.
it just be like you qualify in your group? That's it. Top two in the group go through the World Cup. I don't understand.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
I don't know. Consistency should get you there, not the knockout situation. The knockout situation should be for the World Cup. Look, we're not there. I think, obviously I'm going to start off with
the
man we spoke about, Leao. He can have a massive impact for Portugal. 23 years old, could make a name for himself in this World Cup. That's where you have the big clubs coming and knocking. And the other one I'm going to say, and is a favorite of mine, is none other than Vinicius Jr. Obviously, we know he's good. He's good. But I think there's still people who don't rate him. And I think, he's going to show that what a star he is. And, could he potentially maybe overshadow Neymar in that Brazilian side and be up and coming as the Brazilian talent in the team? Once was it was Ronaldinho. It was obviously the Ronaldo, and then Ronaldinho, and then the baton sort of gets a little bit passed on to Neymar. And then there's that amazing talent that's coming up. It's Vinny Jr. They've got a lot of talent there, but I think the best team for them is definitely with Vinny Jr. on one side, Neymar on the other, and then at striker they got. I don't even think Gabriel Jesus is their first choice striker, which is, I find that hard to believe. I think the way he's playing at the moment for Arsenal I'll be hard pressed if he doesn't make the squad. But those two, they're the two that I'm saying that can definitely make a name for themselves going into this World Cup. Any out there? Any that you've thought of?
I'm just going to read the names. If anyone wants to touch on them, by all means, just stop and go crazy. if they're one of the ones that you think, especially yourself, Dan, as well. I got Brazil. I'm looking at players that are moving into their first World Cup. I'm pretty confident that they weren't playing in Russia in 2018. So Anthony, Vinny, as you mentioned, Martinelli, Rafinha, Rodrigo, they all play on the same team for Brazil, as crazy as that freaking sounds.
It's going to be struggling for game time for all of those guys, but
yeah I know.
definitely
But like,
all have a chance to make
one of those guys
sure.
could be the guys. Portugal, Cancelo and Leao. Germany's got Musiala. Do we see him play a bit? Who knows? They might use a more experienced midfield there, but Musiala's there. And then France, Nkunku, one to watch. Tchouaméni, one to watch, and Camavinga goes into a World Cup as well. So they're just a couple that I'll be watching alongside Gavi and Pedri as well. Those types of kids. A lot of these guys have become predominant now because of social media, but you got to remember a lot of them actually didn't play. They haven't played at a World Cup yet. So
I think to that point, Ansu Fati is going to be very interesting.
Yep.
Very, very interesting for Spain. And that Spain side, I think he starts that side, to be honest. So he's got the ability. He's got good rapport with Pedri there as well. I feel like that could be exciting. That could be exciting to see what he could potentially pull out this year. I don't know who's in their group. Spain. They've got Germany, then Japan, Costa Rica. So technically, they should be able to get through that group. Another team, Serbia. I think that, in honesty, Dusan Vlahovic, I would love to see him absolutely tear it up and release the shackles that Juve's been putting on him. He's been doing pretty well in the lead up to this. Serbia's got a really, really good team. They've got Mitrovic is doing very well. Jovic for Fiorentina and Vlahovic as well. Honestly, one of the best midfielders in the world, Milinkovic-Savic, is so good for Lazio. I'm really excited to see this Serbia team because I think that they'll shake it up a bit. So I reckon Vlahovic and Fati this year, in my opinion.
Nice.
That's good.
I like
pretty
it.
Much.
That's pretty much it. There's a few names that we think, I mean, there might not be guys that we're not giving any advice into say go buy their cards. I think we're just saying these are guys that are coming into, their first sort of World Cup, where all eyes are watching. They, have the chance to make a name for themselves, obviously, and grow their, their likability, whether it be for other supporters of them, of people that want to collect their cards, whatever it may be. But yeah, they definitely have the opportunity to shine on the world stage.
We've
and
definitely
always
seen players shine on the world stage in these
we do.
tournaments.
Mario Götze,
Renato Sanchez, you'd probably say to a certain extent.
Yep. So we've seen it a number of times. That it happens at every World Cup. So, all right, that leaves us, gents, and thank you for those that tuned in. This has been a special edition of the World Game Football, the Round Ball. We will catch you next time, hopefully with a rebrand and something a little bit more catchy than just Haaland and world prospects. So a bit of a show for the name, but until then, gents, thank you for joining me, and peace.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to leave a review on the Apple Podcasting app. Also, follow us on socials: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Talking all sports, double coverage.